Now, Effective Communication with Phil Zeller, CEO, Dale Carnegie, Southwest Michigan.
Did you watch the Olympics this summer? Did you see any of the events? Were you mesmerized by any of the moments? Maybe you were, maybe you weren't. But the bottom line is you have an opinion, right? You have an opinion of why you watched it, why you didn't watch it, why you enjoyed what somebody did, why you didn't enjoy what somebody did, whatever it may be, whether it was tied to the sport, tied to the athlete, tied to the competition, tied to the media, tied to politics, whatever it was, you probably have some opinion of why you did or did not partake in watching the Olympics. Now, the beautiful thing to me personally about the Olympics is if you've ever met any of these Olympic athletes, you know how hard they train. You know how hard they must focus day in and day out and day in and day out. And to become one of the best in the world at anything is not an easy task. Ask yourself, what are you the best at the world in? What list would you put yourself in the top 10 on in the world? And then when you start to look at that, wow, I guess that is kind of impressive to be one of the best in the world, especially in something that requires a lot of skill and athleticism. That really starts to take a whole new shape. And the interesting thing about it is how many times do we look at an athlete, whether it be, in football season or basketball season or watching Olympics and say, this is what they should have done. This is what they should have done. It's a lot of times back in the day, I used to play fantasy football with a bunch of friends. And Monday morning was always interesting because you hear a bunch of woulda, shoulda, couldas. Well, I should have played this guy. Oh, I should have played that guy. Oh, I should have done this. I should have done that. This guy didn't live up to his potential. He should have done this. He should have done that. And so there was a bunch of what we called Monday morning quarterbacking going on and basically describing what should have happened on Sunday in the NFL. Well, the amazing thing about it is people feel comfortable doing that. And the question is, why do they feel comfortable doing that? Why do they feel comfortable talking about what people shoulda, woulda, coulda done when in their own lives they have a bunch of woulda, shoulda, couldas that they could have done? Interesting, huh? So as we think about human nature, it's really tied to the way that we do communicate as human beings. And a lot of times the way we've been taught is you don't want to be caught holding the bag. The proverbial bag, as they say, right? What you want to be in a situation is where you're not blaming somebody or you're not telling somebody what they did wrong. What you're trying to do is you're trying to understand what did they do, why did they do it? And if you really care enough to even talk about it with another person, rather than criticizing and wasting the time and talking about something somebody's looking at you saying, well, have you done that? Have you been there? Have you played at that level? Let me ask you a question. Have you walked a mile in that person's shoes? Have you walked in their shoes for a full mile? Do you know everything they've been through? No, but I know what I've been through. Yes, you know what you've been through. And do you know what they've been through? Answer that question. And odds are, person probably is going to go silent at you at that point in time. Not really. They really don't understand what the other person went through, and they're basing it based upon their experience, not the other person's experience. And this happens all the time in communication and relationships, and so we struggle a lot. I've shared with you before, in effective communication, the number one reason why relationships fall apart is because of poor or lack of communication, whether it be personal or professional. So when we look at situations, don't be the Monday morning quarterback. Don't talk about woulda, shoulda, couldas that people could have done. That's a waste of time. That's just going to create resentment, and it's going to basically drive the relationship apart. So what you want to do, instead, let's be proactive as we always are here on Effective Communication and looking at ways that we can get better. Let's try honestly to see things from the other person's point of view. And by doing this, what we really want to do is analyze what's the situation they were in? So let's get the facts. What was going on? How did they, what did they perceive to see what was going on? And when we get all the facts about what they were going through and that decision they made, weigh it out. Did it make sense? Well, based upon where they were at, did it make sense? Well, obviously it did. And then realize that, hey, they made the best decision in that moment of time. May not have been your decision. But the challenge for all of us is to realize is that in that person's mind, they're doing the best that they can. And Dale Carnegie said, do the very best that you can in everything that you do. And our challenge is not to be the woulda, shoulda, coulda person. You woulda, coulda, shoulda done this. Rather, go to that person and say, hey, help me understand you're going through this. I'm seeing it from your point of view. This is what you had to deal with. These were the things that you could have done or might have done, and this is what you did. Share with me why you did this. And then they can explain it to you and they can share with you. And you can say, well, how did it turn out? And they're going to say, well, Captain Obvious, it didn't turn out that good. And say, okay, so what can be done differently next time? What do you suppose, what would you tweak? What would you change to have a different result? And let them share that with you, because now you're helping a person to move forward. And that's what we want to do in communication, is keep the conversation moving forward, keep their leadership going forward, and share with them what they can do better next time. And if you do this in every conversation, people will look forward to having conversations with you. Now go make it happen.